I made a video recently talking about having fun in Commander, and I briefly touched on board wipes. The response was polarizing. So much so, there's probably a 50% chance that you're going to hate watch the rest of this video. Where there are strong differences of opinion, I see the potential for misalignment and bad vibes. I like good vibes. So let's talk about board wipes in casual Commander. This wouldn't be a topic of conversation if we didn't feel the need to run board wipes to begin with. So let's start there. I'm going to come clean right at the start. I love a good board wipe, especially in competitive Magic, where I would classify myself very firmly as a control player. A point emphasized by the fact that my all time favorite deck is Psychotog. The games culminated in an upheaval combo win, so I'd like to think that I know a thing or two about board wipes. Why do we play them in Commander? We play them as an equalizer, a way to deal with those who go a little too fast, those who get a little too greedy, or maybe just those who fly a little bit too close to the sun. And that's before we even bring Ward into the conversation. With so many strong cards appearing these days with Ward, board wipes are almost a necessity just to deal with those. On the flip side, many say that board wipes lead to bad vibes and less fun. I'm sure some of that is just people not liking their stuff getting removed. But beyond that, there are some legitimate reasons for people disliking board wipes. And while the reasons for liking board wipes are all very mechanical and logical, the reasons for disliking them tend to be much more about feelings, which is where the misalignment can come in. The first common reason people dislike board wipes is causing games to go too long, and that multiple board wipes, especially those that yeet multiple types of non-land permanents, cause games to go 2, maybe even 3 times longer than they probably should. There's a key difference between board wipes in competitive formats and board wipes in Commander, and that is the amount of time the wipe adds to a game. And I really understand this problem, because if I'm traveling an hour each way to my LGS once a fortnight, I'm probably hoping to get at least 2 or maybe 3 games of Commander in before I have to head home. In games filled with board wipes, I may end up only getting to play 1, and that 1 game may not even have been very much fun. There's also the opinion that multiple back-to-back resets just make people feel bad, because everyone just gets to kind of play the game, but it's rarely whose deck is best crafted to deal with the wipes or who is the least affected that has the most fun or success. And even that success is probably a half-realized game plan stumbling across the finish line. What arguably feels the worst is getting hit as collateral damage when a player wipes to deal with a speedy criminal. Even worse if you've had a slow start. You might just be finding your feet only for someone to slam down a board wipe and send you back to the Stone Age. And this is the main other reason people take issue with board wipes. They limit people's ability to play the game in a significant way and get enjoyment from both their deck and the game. So it seems to be that a single, necessary board wipe isn't that much of an issue, but that multiples can be. It's worth bearing in mind that if the whole pot is playing the recommended amount of 3 to 4 board wipes in your deck, then the chances are that it's going to result in about 3 to 4 board wipes across the average game, which puts us deep into feels bad territory. This leaves us in a tricky spot, because we definitely need the board wipes, but they can also create play experiences that just kind of suck. So how do we solve this? I think the issue lies less with playing board wipes at all, and more with how they are used. In many cases, I see people playing board wipes very inefficiently. For example, using a board wipe to try and solve a single problem, which is a bit like using an airstrike, when what you really need is a sniper rifle. Another crime is not taking into account the collateral damage of dealing with this player that's ahead. Sometimes the player you're targeting will bounce back the quickest, and you hamstringing your current teammates is actually doing more harm than it is good. Then there's board wiping when you're really far behind just to get yourself back into the game, or resetting the game with no real plan of how to capitalize on the situation. Fortunately, these types of plays can also point us to solutions, and ways to play around our board wipes that both deal with the threats and don't create ample time for our play groups to daydream about playing with someone else. I'd start with communicating more. If there's some serious threats you're trying to deal with, but you're on the fence about whether or not to cast the board wipe, maybe someone else can and will deal with the threat and would prefer that outcome to you casting a board wipe. At best, that could deal with the problem and save you a board wipe. At worst, at least the pod is included in the decision, so they'll likely be less sad if you do board wipe and their input may even impact what you do. If you do decide to wipe, rather than resets or as an oh shit button to keep yourself alive, I encourage you to use board wipes as an attempt to put yourself ahead and create game winning states, or better yet, close out the game. Or if you can't quite get there, at least think about how quickly you can capitalize on casting the board wipe. Your pod is unlikely to complain if a board wipe puts the game on a short timer. That said, if all the wipe is going to do is stop someone else from winning, you might want to think about why you're casting it. If we're playing Commander for fun, will this board wipe add something to the game or get the group closer to fun? And if not, and it's instead just going to reset the game, it probably serves you and the pursuit of winning rather than fun for the table. If that's the case, I'd reconsider casting that board wipe at all. Maybe not casting the wipe will let the game naturally end in 5 to 10 minutes, and everyone can have fun, or short-lived pain, and then go again, rather than the game grinding to a halt and everyone stumbling through it for the next 45 minutes or more. I want to make it clear that these are obviously just my opinions, and I'm definitely not trying to tell you how to play Magic, but I do think that this kind of line of play is at least worth thinking about, because if our entire pods think the same way, it means we'll likely have 1 to 2 highly necessary board wipes per game that move the game forward, rather than a painful abundance of resets. The crux of all this is that board wipes, when used inefficiently in Commander, equals more game time, and not necessarily good game time. Whether it's being held hostage by an inting teammate in a multiplayer game like League of Legends, or being held hostage by the board wipe king in Commander, no one likes the feeling of having their time being wasted or not respected. But enough with how to play board wipes. What about the actual wipes themselves? If you've watched any of my content, you'll know I love novelty, and when that comes to cardboard, that means interesting, lesser-seen cards that get your pod curious and excited when they hit the table, even when that means the demise of their board state. I love one-sided, flexible, or thematic board wipes. Wipes that impact your opponents a whole lot, and you as little as possible, or that at least create massive amounts of advantage for you. One usually has to build your deck in a way that capitalizes on using these, but they'll almost always set us up for winning positions and limit the chance that you're going to be a time criminal. I've made a long list of some of my favorite wipes in Commander and linked it in the description to save you time. Here are a few of my favorite examples. If you've raised the Palisade or felled the mighty your way to victory, you'll know how good some of these cards can be. There's also a secondary category of pseudo board wipes that I love. Cards that don't necessarily blow up your opponent's things, but do tie them down or render them unable to interact. In many situations, especially in the late game, these cards that temporarily impact a player have all the impact of a board wipe with a lot less pain. If you've ever had an aggressive opponent attack into you, only for you to cast a sudden spoiler and clear out their entire board, you'll know the joy of these cards all too well. Here are a few examples of what I mean. I'll leave you with this. I imagine you want your pods to leave your games more excited to play with you again than when you sat down. If that's the case, you could unknowingly be giving them the ick because of some wayward board wipes. One of the base deck department cardinal sins of Commander, that's probably a list I should make, is taking up too much game time. If you find yourself doing that, or forcibly committing others' time, that's probably worth thinking about. And last, but definitely not least, if you're currently headed to the comments to tell me all about why I suck and that these are not indeed base takes, then you're probably a bit of a lost cause that few people are excited to play with. And that's something you should definitely think about. Love you lots, Base Deck Department.